And we are started, so happy Friday. Any volunteers to read our culture piece today?
I will.
Okay, Shane, let me pull it up. Nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Hang on just a second. I had it queued, and then I didn't. So let's do it this way. Okay, so Shane, it is the We Are Ambitious.
Okay, hold on. It's not populated yet. Okay, we are ambitious, self-motivated, self-accountable, and self-managed. We strive to achieve the common goal and do what is necessary to make it happen. We empower our people. We don't wait to be told. We see, we evaluate, we do. We are highly proactive and accountable. X factor. Level 5 leaders operating at level 5 on level 5 teams in a level 5 culture. L5 equals personal humility and indomitable, with ambition is for the cause. The purpose, the work, the company versus themselves.
Right. So thank you. And this will go along with what we're doing today. So we're continuing from our last week. So Ted, I'm turning it over to you, and here we go.
Awesome, thank you. Let's start with the video we saw. I don't know, did most of you get a chance to watch that? What
great video.
Great video.
What stood out to you? Any comments?
Leadership is empathy. You know, it's not just about numbers and performance, it's about caring about the individual and not just being in charge, but taking care of those that you're in charge of is the main points I got.
Ashley, that was great, Techie. Thank you.
So I love the part where he mentioned that we are responsible for the people that is responsible for the job. And that is 100% true, because if we make sure that everything is going great with them and always being able to ask them, hey, how are you today? How are you doing? Is there anything you need me to do so that you can make your job correctly or that you can be successful? Please let me know. And those were my two favorite parts.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else have anything you'd like to add on it?
Jessica has her hand up.
Yeah,
oh, I didn't see her. Go ahead, Jessica.
Just that fear just promotes more fear, I think. So if we create a safe space where people feel like they have that bandwidth to test things and possibly fail, that's not always a bad thing. I think it's important that we aren't using fear to motivate people, because that's not what's going to work. People thrive when other people believe in them. And I think fear was a big piece I took out of that. That's no way to kind of motivate your team.
Yeah, he talked at the end about vulnerability, you know, around not, hey, I'm insecure so much, but I need help, I screwed up. And so then he said, in absence of that, it's all lies, hides, and fakes. You come to work and you lie, hide, and fake. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, Mariah?
Yeah, I kind of like the ending where he kind of took it round circle and talked about how we, the leaders of today, I kind of took it as we, the leaders of today, are not only responsible for the people we lead today, but also creating the leaders, like the future leaders, and how we have to really be mindful and conscious about how we lead the people of today, because those will lead the people of tomorrow. So I really liked that full circle ending.
Awesome, thank you. Belinda?
Yeah, what resonated with me was his comment about how, you know, in the late 70s, 80s, they started doing this shareholder, you know, it's all about the shareholder. It's all about the shareholder. And how that's perpetuated through the decades. And for those of us who have worked for Fortune 100 and 500 public companies, I think it resonates. It certainly did with me. I worked for a couple of them. And it was this axe that was always, you know, just hovering right there, you know. And the first thing you did was you chopped. Where did you chop? You chopped heads, boy. That's where you regained your money. And it left with me and all of us, I'm sure, this thing of your loyalty, your commitment, your sacrifice that you give to this company, whichever company, is a complete misplaced sense of ethic, because on the turn of a dime, you will be out, you know. And that's something that's always stayed with me through the years, and certainly resonated in this video.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria.
What stood out to me was the whole video was really great. There's a lot of really important parts, but to me it was the part where he was like, we're really easy to like yell and point out people's mistakes. You know, when you make a mistake, instead of being, hey, like let's fix it. Because in the world with our kids at work, we tend to do that a lot, you know, with the recruiters. If they're not filling orders, you know, we tend to be like, hey, why aren't you doing your job, right? But we're not finding the results or the solution to why they're not doing their job. Earlier this week, I realized that I had made a mistake, and I text Kai. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was just like so apologetic. I was like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe like this skipped my mind, blah, blah. And he was like, Maria, it is fine. Like, you know, you made a mistake. You found a solution. Like, don't worry about it. We just move on. And if he was a different kind of manager, he would have been like, you're out the door. Goodbye. Like, we don't want you here anymore. So that's what stood out to me.
Awesome. Thank you. I like how he said, oh, you've made all these mistakes. This has been gone. Is everything okay with you? That was it'd be a fresh, nice perspective to have. So that's great. Thank you. Arturo?
Yeah, definitely. Something that impacted me was leaders care about the people. They care about the people. They care about your client. That was very important for me, especially as manager here on the branch. I have to care about my people. They are performing super well, and I'm super proud of who they are. And I have to make sure they have the tools that is going to make them successful, right? Another thing that also stood out to me was see your people as your kids. And one of the question was, would you give them to adoption if they are failing in school, or would you give them more time? I mean, no more time, but like, would you like help them succeed in life with the things that you know already? So those are the two things that like really stood out to me a lot.
Yeah, I think that's, you hear that example a lot as kids that can relate back to this, but think about if you were teaching a kid to walk and even if it took them 3 years and they're your child, you're just going to keep working with them until they walk. Or if they don't talk right out of the gate or ride a bike, you don't just say, you're done. All right, let's move on. But in business, and I guess I do get it. In business, it's a little harder. We're trying to make it every day, and we have all this demands on us from customers and from the market competition that puts a lot of pressure on us. But it is good to keep in mind at times how it is with human development, and everybody pretty much walks unless you have some literal like absolute physical disability. Every child walks. Every child eventually talks. Even those, my wife's over a program full of special needs kids, and well, they're adults too, so up to age 60. But they, they all talk. They all walk. We all eventually get there. So I think that's a good perspective to think. Joe?
Yeah.
I really love all of the points you guys have shared so far. One of the ones that stood out to me, and it was just the phrasing of it that I really loved, which was the not being in charge, but the people in your charge. And it sounds like a subtle difference, but it's really not. And I just remember back to 16-year-old Joe at Kentucky Fried Chicken, just as new assistant manager. And man, I was on like high heavens, right? And I was lucky because I had a best friend. I think I've shared this with most of you guys before. I had a best friend working for the same organization when I got this promotion. And I'm like drunk on power. The manager's left. I'm in charge. So excited, right? This needs to be done. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. I was just so excited just to be in control. And my friend took me aside and said, no one cares what you're doing, or no one cares to do anything until they know what you're doing. It was just such an interesting change of mindset for me. And that was one. And then I absolutely loved, I don't remember the name of the guy in the video. So does anyone remember his name? I can't remember what the guy that
Noah.
we'll get two
Stas.
versions of an employee. What was it?
No, Noah.
Noah. Okay. I really love the story of Noah, and I really love the story that we can get two completely different versions of Noah by the way that we lead. How profound is that?
That was great. Thank you. Ashley Labrum, did it get covered?
Yeah, I was actually just going to tie back to what you had said, Ted. And sometimes when your kids aren't walking, right, and you're trying to get them to learn, you have to ask for outside help. And I thought that was really a great way to have like a little reminder of there's other people on the team that have experiences that can help you help your team walk.
Yeah. And so I really like what he talked about, how you don't use people to cover, your financial misses. But like it says in there also, it is ultimately the people, the people that make the miss too, because it's the people that are on the ground doing it. But I also agree with what Belinda said. But there is ultimately a difference, and I think I'm trying to be careful, which this may sound cold a little bit, but just trying to be honest when we talk at the company. We want to be loving and care for it, and we really do. But I try to not use the word family. We're a family because I think we're a team. Because really, you've got a sister that's a disaster or a child that's this, you're going to fall them over the edge. And with the team, I think we are responsible for results, and we probably can't follow each other over the edge. At some point, we have to say, this isn't working. I love you. Thank you. But it's probably best for both of us if you, go spread your wings elsewhere. And that is a little harsh part of work that, maybe a lot of families could use more accountability, but it is one difference. And so we do use the word, I use the word team because I think it is a little dangerous to say family, because ultimately I think with most people with their family, some people don't, they just, I'm not going to follow you there, and they just let them go. But most people follow their family over the edge. One last thing I'll say is when I think Arturo said it, you're in charge of those, you're charged. But that's in Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about the window and the mirror. And that's basically the saying, when something goes right, it's a mirror, and you look at it, and it's everybody does that, and it's their win. And when something goes wrong, it becomes a mirror, and you need to look and say, even though you're not the person that's in charge of the work, we still missed our numbers, and I'm the leader, and that's my fault. And so you have to have a mirror when stuff's going wrong and a window when stuff's going right, which makes leadership a little lonely at times, because there's always something sort of separating you. I'm sort of protecting my people and insulating that. But I thought that was a good last point. All right. Well, thank you for all the comments. At this next week, I won't be here. Well, I guess that doesn't matter. So 2 things. Carrie, you're good. Are you around next Friday?
Yep.
I have a strategic planning for one of my companies, so I will be out. So we will move up transformational leadership. I was going to do the Tony Robbins one. Maybe we'll just still do it anyway.
Okay.
And I'll just miss it. I was excited about that one. So Carrie will send out the link. If for some reason it doesn't work, just go to YouTube and look Inc. Magazine, Tony Robbins, and you'll find it. But Carrie will send out the link. It's 40 minutes, but I think it's really I think it's really good. I was blown away. And then my wife watched it with me. It was so good. I think I watched it 3 times. And I'm going to watch it again and take notes. But so that's 40 minutes, and that'll be you can guys discuss that next week. We're moving on after we finish today's stuff into management versus leadership, which I think this video kind of queued up really well as some of the thinking different. I love that about when you become a manager, usually, or a leader, from being really good at your job, and then it's the Peter principle, you're promoted to then assume that because you were good at the job, you can now lead people and be responsible for people rather than for the work. And most of us fall into a trap there. And that also that you really are better, that it's hard to not micromanage when you literally are better at the work than the people you manage. That's kind of been an advantage for me in most things in life. Especially as I've gotten older, I'm not better at the work. And I actually seem to divorce myself from the work as I've been CEO or owner. Like, I don't know how to recruit, and I don't want to know how. Now, that could backfire at some point if everything goes wrong or all your people disappear or something, then that's a problem. But I think it helps me at times to not get in the weeds and to not micromanage, because I just am very outcome focused and say, let's remind ourselves what we're trying to do here. Let's remind ourselves what the standard is. Let's remind ourselves what's possible. But I literally don't know how to do any of your jobs. And I think that's a good thing at times. I mean, you need to be competent as a leader and a manager. And so I guess the question is, what am I competent in? And we can look at what my areas of focus are. But that is, I think, an interesting trap that a lot of managers fall into. In the further away you get from the work, the more you kind of become into my shoes, where it's like, yeah, I don't per se know how to recruit anymore, or I don't know how to do sales. I mean, a lot of this stuff I could figure out. I've been over sales before. I've been over finance. I've been over ops. I've been over different things. But anyway, it's kind of an interesting perspective about being a little distance from the work. And I had one other thing I was going to say. Oh, well. All right, well, we'll move on. Let's try to wrap up these transformational habits. And again, the point being just, what are some processes that work for you every day to put you in your best state and best frame of mind? I can share again. Everybody's got the document, but I'll share anyway. Just got so many screens, it's hard to tell which one. Is that? Yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
Yep, it's showing.
So I think we talked about all the different areas of journaling is where we finished. And these are on, I got 4 screens, and so just either shout out if you raise your hand, or Carrie shout out if someone raises it and I don't see it.
Yeah.
Because I probably won't see it. But I'd love you to interrupt me or jump in as soon as you have thoughts. So does anybody have any questions, comments, anything from last week when we kind of talked about a bunch of stuff, finished, and you had a week to kind of chew on it and think through it? Any thoughts or comments or actions or anything anybody wants to share? It's okay if there isn't.
I lost 8 pounds.
Nice. That's like every week for me. And then the next week I gain 10. But I can lose 3 or 4 pounds a day. but then I can put on 3 or 4 pounds a day. So good job, Joe.
Hey, it's a start. Let's hope more to come. But and I don't do the TED approach then, it sounds like. So
Yeah. Luckily I don't seem to break through my ultimate barriers, but there seems to be a limit on that. All right. So let's talk about gratitude. We hit gratitude journaling, and I kind of said gratitude. We talked about the book with Arthur C. Brooks and Oprah, but just to reiterate that before we move on, there's gratitude journaling that I talked about on F here on daily journaling. But I think just having a grateful heart and an optimistic attitude and an abundance mindset to say, there's plenty in the world. There's plenty of work out there. There's plenty of great candidates. There's plenty of money. There's plenty of promotions. There's plenty of jobs. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes when you're in a rough patch, but even there's plenty of good emotions. There's plenty of good people out there that would love me and, want to be in a relationship. There's any area of your life. I believe that there is absolute abundance in this world. And people always kind of get a scarcity mindset and they're like, oh, well, we're going to run out of oil, or we're going to run out of this, or there's not enough land, or there's not enough, and wars are fought over that, or wars are fought over religion because it's a scarcity, like, well, my way's right and your way has to be wrong. But it is an abundant world. And I know there's a lot of junk that goes on in it too, but I believe optimism and abundance and a grateful heart will always win the day. And so that's what that means, number G, and why it's there in addition to gratitude journaling, is to just be grateful and optimistic and abundant. Realize there is abundance. Shane.
You gotta, oh, sorry, you saw it.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I love that section, because living in the staffing world, and you guys have probably heard me say this many times before, we live in a very negative industry, because that's what we have to focus on, right? And when we have an order for 10 people and 7 show up, what does the client focus on? They don't focus on the 7 people that did a good job and showed up to the position. They focus on the 3 didn't show up. And so when I talk to staff, when I talk to salespeople, when I talk to anyone else, I always tell them is, look, don't focus on the negative. Focus on the positive and what went right, right? We're going to deal with the negative. We're going to go back and we're going to call those individuals. But when we focus on the positive, it changes your entire mentality. And I love that, because that makes me think of the gratitude is we have a choice on how we think every day. And if we think about the positive and what went right, you're going to change your whole mindset.
I love it. And that ties back into what we'll talk about a little bit further today, is the 3 to 1. That anytime you give yourself feedback or to do it, there's a book called Well Done, like spelled like the well, and it talks about how they train the animals in the SeaWorld and places that now they don't do that anymore because it's inhumane, I guess, but that it was all through positive reinforcement. And when they would take a natural thing that the dolphin or the whale would do, but every time they would do it right, they would catch them doing it right and they'd reward them. And that's how they trained them. They only would train through positivity. And I think that's really what's built into the high performance journal and the PAT process. And whether you use that or not, but just to always do that. And it's hard. Like, I used to go watch my kids play junior jazz basketball, and I coached a junior high team here. We took state championship. I was the basketball coach. So I'm good enough at basketball myself. And then coaching, I kind of know what it is. And you watch this junior jazz stuff and it's a disaster. And you're like, okay, how am I going to find 3 things to do that they did well, but it's always never like, well, you should do this and you should do this, and you didn't block on the rebounds and you didn't follow up. No, you just say, boy, I love the effort. You just dig deep. As you're the manager, you've got to find 3 things that they did well when you do their feedback. And then you can, at that point, have one thing, but not 7 things to work on. We should just always work on one thing. And I think that can then build momentum. And if you want to note the other things, build yourself a parking lot. Here's other things I can work on later so I don't forget them. And back to the point of this journaling and having this idea dump to just free your mind to just write everything down. Parking lots are really powerful things, I believe, to just capture ideas and be done with them, as long as you have a method to get back and find your way back to those. But mind dumps are really powerful things, and I would just keep doing that and keep parking lots for yourself of other stuff, but don't work on 15 things at once. All right, number 8, vision boards and mind movies. Most people probably have heard of vision board. I should have brought mine up to, I mean, I could, I've got one right here, but I'd have to unblur and all that. But just in case somebody I won't assume, but you would go, in the old traditional thing, you would go into magazines and you would cut out stuff that you want and words, and you'd kind of just put up a thing to say what I want. A mind movie is just basically a digital version of that. Now it's a little more than that, but I will now skip to we'll come back to but how they, so I've heard about these forever, but we talked about Joe Dispenza, I think last week when we were throwing out books. But he talks about, and I've always believed, this you don't have to believe this at all, but I believe that we're sort of in this, it's almost like the Matrix, that we're in this field of time and space that doesn't really exist, that we're just sort of in a thing where time is imposed upon us. And that's basically what he goes into quantum physics and then describes why really there is no time. And if you look, and so I've been fascinated with these physics books, and I've read a lot of them that aren't about that. They're just physicists talking about how the way the universe works. But I would say that's one of the consensuses I have from all of those also, is that there really is no time and space. They can get into a atom, and if they're connected, they can put them on opposite sides of the earth, and they can do something to this little proton or neutron or any different thing at the subatomic level, and the thing will happen over here, and it's like instantaneously. So there's, they do all these different things, and they can basically, by my standards, prove that there is no time and space and different things. So as that relates to this, with Joe Dispenza saying the future is really happening simultaneous to now. And so you can bring the future to yourself. Why not bring the future you want? What we do is we get into this pattern, and we wake up and we brush our teeth and we go to work and we drink our coffee, we go to work, we come home, we watch TV. We just live the same pattern, and we recreate today over and over and over again. But you can have a different tomorrow. And so the point of a vision board or a mind movie is to bring the tomorrow that you want to yourself. Think abundantly, and you'd see the order that you've said, okay, I have all my ideas down. I know who I am. I know where I want to go. I have a plan to get there. I am optimistic. I'm positive. I'm grateful. I have all that. And now I'm going to go create the future that I want, and I'm going to bring it to my present tense. And the universal mind, I think I listed a bunch of books. Did that happen? Didn't we talk about? I think I did read them off, and Techie typed them out. Those are all kind of talk about this thing called the universal mind, or the subconscious, or literally the mind of God. Some of them calls it. The one of them, the three. I'll just ruin the book or give you what the 3 magic words are. But that it's it's God. We have God within us, and the power of that. And we can create what we want. We can create our future. And so the point of those is that it doesn't understand the difference to time, because there isn't time. So you should always speak to it this is now a little bit moving into quantum affirmations. You should speak to yourself and your subconscious in your affirmations in present tense. And the difference, again, I've heard of affirmations for a lot, and they're kind of silly. Sometimes the guy, Stuart Smalley, I think was his name, on Saturday Night Live, he would always be like, gosh darn it, I'm a good person and I like myself. And so, yeah, could be some silly stuff, but I also think if we take it seriously, they can be serious. And so I've had great experiences with those. I think I told you I wrote down some ridiculous goals. And I do believe in goal setting, and just setting the goal makes a huge difference. If you write it down, it's like a tenfold difference. If you review it, it's like another tenfold difference. And I wrote down lots and lots and lots of goals when I was young. And some of them I didn't review a lot. And I came back to them 20 years later, and it was insane that they came true, and there were some obscene goals there, just so big, and yet they all accomplished that. I did the same thing in probably, let's see, 2002. So probably 20 years ago, I went to a thing and they had us do affirmations, and I wrote out all these ones and they weren't as big, but they were really big, and they were all in the present tense. And I put them on my mirror and would say them every day, like, I have $20,000 a month of passive income that flows in, or whatever, something like that. And I would talk through it. They all came true. So I tend to see that this stuff works. I definitely believe in the science of the quantum physics and stuff, but that's sort of what a quantum affirmation is. We had a thing on a Friday with some of you probably last year, and I read some of mine. I mean, I can give you an example. Here's my smart resources one, my quantum affirmation for our company. I am so grateful and excited about the success and bounty of SMART. We quickly realized our vision of 60 million and 6.6 million profit. We are a font of incubation, creativity, innovation, results, and human performance and progression. We are diversified in our offerings and our clients. We have lots of cash and profits to create self-reliance and stability. We have amazing leaders and team members who are in the right roles and aligned with our beliefs. They each excel and amaze in their roles. We have created 20 plus amazing different companies or offerings, and each is very successful. We have maintained more than 25% revenue and profit growth for many years. I am in awe and gratitude as we race past 150 million and 20 million in profits. I'm excited for the future as we build towards $1 billion. I see it as if it is now. So the point is that you would do those in the present tense, and I believe you can pull the present or the future that you want to yourself. So that's the point of quantum affirmations. A mind movie would be the same thing. It's just music. And again, I've got one of those. You would create a bunch of things that you want. So the key in all these is you got to know what you want, and you want to know some things that you want. And then you can create images of those. And a vision board is great. It's just a cork board that you can put pictures of a big house, or a loving relationship, or a healthy body, or a big car you want, or whatever the have, do, be goals and stuff that you want. You'd put them up there and you have a picture. And that helps us pierce that time veil that we can say, I can start to believe this, so much of this, and it goes back to like just even religion stuff. So much of it is just to believe. Believing is 90% of the battle. And I think that's the same with winning teams, and even for ourselves to win. And so these things just help us believe. A mind movie is the same thing. And you could search on the internet, there are tools to help you make those, but it's just images, and you put it with music, so it gets more powerful. So, okay, I will pause for breath there. Any comments or questions or anything on any of this quantum physics piece of doing things in the present tense and helping our subconscious understand that, and then vision boards, mind movies, quantum affirmations? Carrie.
Yeah, I just want, just to confirm, and I've done this for years. Sometimes I didn't know what it was called, but I think that this obviously really works, and I really hope that you kind of take this into consideration and realize, that most of us, we have a tendency to keep dragging the past every single day into our future. It's very predictable. Your future is predictable when you keep dragging the past into it. So if you want a different future, you've got to focus on using these tools. And like Ted, I can show you in real life physically things that I've written down and focused on, things that I would never have thought in my life that, you know, could happen if you're skeptical, but you know, they happen, and it's amazing how they happen. Sometimes things just take place. I'm driving around in one of those things, and it was amazing how that happened. It's just amazing. So, you know, it's just important for us to use these tools, and they absolutely work. If you don't believe it, they won't work. But when you start using them, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah, Kyle, thank you, Carrie.
I think Shantae was first. Go ahead, Shantae.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say what Carrie said, that I'm a huge believer in the vision boarding and the affirmations, because same thing, I've seen a lot of things come to fruition in my own life. And I actually hosted a lunch and learn for the trades team at the beginning of the year where we did a vision boarding workshop. And I would love to do that again this year for 2024. If anyone's interested, like, I'll put it out company wide. I'd be happy to host another one of those because it was great. We did some pre-work exercises before we got into making our vision board, and a lot of it had to deal with affirmations and setting affirmations and how to say those in the present tense, like Ted was saying, and use I am statements and things like that. So I thought it was a great experience. I think everyone really enjoyed it. And I know our team is using their vision boards and has them on their desks and displayed and looking at them every day. And I do too in my office. So yeah, I think it's great. And I'd be happy to do that again for 2024 and have everyone come this time.
That'd be wonderful. Thanks, Shantae. That's a great offer. Let's put that out there. A couple comments before we go to Kyle. Boy, I lost my mind of thought again. One thing I did want to say on the and again, some of this I'm probably heading, you know, just sharing my beliefs, and I'm not trying to push when I talk about different things, but like I believe there is a God, and I believe, you know, literally that the name is I am, and that's a lot of people do. I remember the guy that won the American Idol, Barry Em Tonge, you know, that's his name, Em, but that's literally I am is how God refers to himself. It says the great I am. So every time we're saying I am stupid, or I am worthless, or you are taking the name of God in vain. And rather than say, it's just I am is a very powerful statement. And I think we need to wield that weapon, and it can be very much to our good to say, I am strong. I am good. I am, and I believe that we are a piece of God, and that's just a really powerful statement. So I'm a huge fan of literally when you say I am statements. It's not just saying, oh, I'm affirming myself. I believe it's literally, I believe that's a name of God if you follow the Bible and say that. And again, you don't have to be into that. And if I've made anybody uncomfortable, sorry about that, but that's just my traditions that I have, is that is God. And so I think that's a powerful thing to say, I am this, I am that. And definitely don't use it whether you believe in God or not. That's just such a destructive thing to have negative self-talk and to be like, oh, I am this, even if it's sort of in humor or in frustration that you just do, at the moment, oh, I'm such an idiot. You hear people do stuff like that. And it's like, don't do that. You're too good for that. So I think Kyle and then Maria.
Yeah, I just wanted to share just an experience of my own. When I was 11 or 12 years old, I don't know if this is dreams or daydreams or just who I was, I always wanted to have guitars, amplifiers, recording equipment, microphones, basses, all this stuff. And by the time I was 18, I suddenly had a whole entire basement full of that. And I don't even know how much of it even got there, just by wanting it so much and loving that stuff so much. I became a magnet for those things. And I remember I had to work a lot of hours, and I'd go to a music store and buy something, but it just seemed like all of it just appeared one day, and I couldn't even tell you to this day how I got a lot of that stuff. But I think that's very true. When we know what we want and we love what we want, those things come to us. So we have to be very careful about what we tell ourselves, I think, and it's just real.
Yeah, I'll just touch briefly on the physics books again that all these quantum physics books I've read, and there really is no matter. I mean, that's kind of what the point of Einstein's, everyone thinks the theory of relativity to say, oh, it's about speed of light. Well, that's really just the constant, but it's the energy equals matter. There is no, a rock is not a rock, and our bodies are not our body. Everything is energy, is the point of that. And so, yeah, what we focus on and where we put that energy and that's why the law of attraction is interesting. And that's why where we point and where we direct our energy, it then has a cumulative effect, because everything is energy. A tree is energy, we are energy, and we're not a solid mass that it looks like a rock, looks like this is solid thing, but it's really full of atoms moving around, and we're just full of things moving around. We're all just energy. And I think that plays into that, to say where you put your intention and your focus and your energy is where things grow. And so we can say, you look at the life you built, or the whatever you want to say with what's going on, that is a true testament. Our bodies do the same thing. Our bodies keep score. They are a natural scorecard of the choices we've been making. And a lot of our life is a natural scorecard. So I think that's an interesting piece of that. So Maria?
I just wanted to say, I love the way that you represent yourself and your beliefs, and you apologize, if I offend anyone, or if you don't believe the same way I believe it. But I just love that you do that, and I just wanted to say that, because it's awesome that in like today's society, especially all of us that are here, we can respect one another's choices and what we believe in and how we say it. So that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you. And I do think two things I would say on that is have kind of an and mentality in your life, and then a for. It's like, I wish people would just focus on what they're for, not against. And sometimes I get into that, even like with football. Somehow, like, I get mad at BYU because I like Utah. And it's like, what does that matter? Just be what you're for. What are you for? Okay, I'm for University of Utah football. Great. I'm for the Utah Jazz, or I'm for this religion. I'm for the United States. I'm for Utah. But that doesn't, again, in a world of abundance, that doesn't matter that someone else is for something else. And so then you can say, and, what is the goodness? And there is so much goodness in all the things. And there's also bad. Religion has lots of benefits, and people use it so many bad ways, and so thank you, Maria. And I do think we can all find ways to just be not divisive and inclusive, and just learn other perspectives. That's also why I love, and we'll get into that on other weeks, of curiosity and just being open-minded. And so anyway, thank you. All right. Did I miss anything before we move on? All right. Oh,
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was going to say anything or not. First of all, I really appreciate this topic. It really hits close to home. I'm not sure if I share my story too much with people, especially with people here. But it just reminds me of the time when I first came home from my mission, and I didn't know what to do with my life. And so I had a choice. I could try to go to school. I could, and school wasn't for me, so I chose to work temp jobs back then, and I would work in factories, 16, 18 hours days. And during that time, I just listened to audiobooks all day. I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. Didn't really know what direction to take, but I did know I liked to learn. And one of the books that came to mind was called "The Power of Starting Something Stupid." It was all about acting on those ideas that comes to your mind that you might think it may not work, it may not, it could work. And one of those ideas that came to mind was maybe I should start an app that helps workers find work right away. And just because one of those problems I've seen around me was the problems we all see today is the getting workers connected to jobs on demand. And I think I had a choice back then was I should act on that idea or I should ignore it. And I think one of the lessons there is I'm here today. I'm here as the division president of Smart Crews, and we are working actively to get workers together. And so having that vision, having that those thought process to know that we are powerful enough to make things into reality, and that's something that that it hits close to home just because you can see all the different blessings that comes to your life just by acting on those impressions, those thoughts, to ideas, because we do have the power. We do have a piece of divinity within us, and we can create. So I appreciate mentioning those things. And I wasn't really sure. I was like, this is a little bit too emotional for me. So, but I appreciate it. And thanks for bringing this up.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Techie. I appreciate that. And it's so powerful to find the meaning in our work, and so it doesn't just become work. I mean, and work can be noble in itself as well. We talked about that, but just to find that meaning and purpose is so powerful. And I know it feels like well, maybe you guys don't, but I do. I feel like, okay, we're spending all this time laying the foundation, and and I don't think it's worth rushing through. It's like, when are we going to get to the meat of it? But I think we are kind of at the meat of it. I think the small stuff is the big stuff, and the soft stuff is the hard stuff, meaning like culture if you're talking about the company, it's like, when are we just going to get to how to do the work? And it's like, you just need to get the culture right, and you need to get the right people, and you need to get them believing and pulling together, and then they'll figure that out. And that's what in a business would be called the soft stuff, or the soft sciences, or the simple stuff. And I do think the simple stuff is the hard stuff and the important things, and the soft things are the hard things and the things you'd get first. And so in leadership, I think it's, when we built a house a couple of years ago, and it was interesting to me that so it took about a year. It took a year. And I would say 9 months of it was sort of planning and permitting and engineering, and they literally put the house up in a few months. And I think that's the same thing with us. We're spending a lot of time on leadership with this stuff, but I do believe this is the foundation to just get your thinking right, to understand yourself, and to get things, and then eventually, because there really isn't going to be a tight prescription like this is the way you lead, because you should lead the way you are. You should be the type of leader of the type of person you are. And Ashley Labram is going to be a different type of leader than me, and she's going to be different than Belinda, and Belinda's going to be different than Joe, and Joe's going to be different than Techie or Maria or Mariah. And I'm just making up some names, and that's good. That's why we're all in the seats we are, because we need us all to be different. That's the beauty of a choral of singers or an orchestra. It's all these different sounds and styles coming together. And that's kind of like jazz music's the epitome of that. But that is the point, is that each of our stuff is different, and that's okay. You don't have to all imitate me and do my style. So we're not going to teach you. We are going to give you things to think about. We are going to talk about some different things, but none of it is prescriptive. It's just stuff to think about. And at the end of the day, it's up to you to go. And with management, we're going to be a little more prescriptive to say, you need to have a performance review with people. You need to do this, you need to do that. And we still don't tell you exactly how. Just like with sales, we're going to script out sales, but we're going to say, these are the outcomes we're looking for. This is the type of effort and sequence and cadence we're looking for. This is the accountability we want, but we're not going to tell you what to say and how to say it. You need to come up with your own. We're going to teach you, if you speak to benefits and value to the customer, and you give them proof, that helps. That's a good formula. If you understand their needs and you don't pounce with the solution, but that you help them, you draw it out of them, in a curious way and by asking good questions. We'll teach that methodology, but we're not going to just tell you, here's your sales script, get on the phone and say it. And it's the same thing with this. Even with management, we're going to give you some more boundaries and principles, and then leadership even less, because it's just ideas for you to think and make your own. And ultimately, it's going to be you need to be true to yourself. Don't just imitate who your manager is or who your leader is or me because I am the CEO. You need to do your own way. So that's why there's a lot of time thinking on trying to just, or us spending on trying to get your thinking where you want to be and giving you ideas. We will still get into leadership principles and other stuff, but I do like that we're spending. I didn't probably expect to spend as much time as we have, but I'm glad we have, because I think it's the foundation that will, if you get the foundation right, your odds of having a good house on top of it, it's the Jesus parable. If you put your house on the sand, it doesn't matter how great your house is. As soon as the sand shifts, like they saw in Draper this year, they built these houses up on the hill on bad dirt, didn't really know it, and it was fine until it wasn't fine. And then big rainstorm, flood, and the houses roll down the mountain. So we're going to try to get our foundation right. All right. I think we really hit this. I added this in later just because, and this, I think really from listening to that Tools of the Titans book, and sometimes once you're in the process of like refining these transformational habits and you're reading the book at the same time, it has a larger effect on you than the normal. But he talks a lot, and a lot of the people he interviewed, because it's like 75 podcasts that he takes the best of and puts in the book. But a lot of people talked about just capturing, and for him, the specific term was monkey brain. So I like that. And then this is the parking lot net, and I just talked about it a few minutes ago too, so we won't hit it again. But it's just the power of paper. It's such a great storage device, and as great as your memory is, paper's better as long as you don't lose it. So you just got to have a system to keep track of your stuff and find it later. So get all of that on paper. These are a little interesting, but I didn't teach a class. I was a speaker. Probably twice a year, I'll go speak at one of the universities. I mean, really just, I guess there's four. I've BYU, UVU, the LDS Business College. I think it has some new name now. And then mostly I go to the U, and I speak to their MBA students every year. And then most of them are I guess most of it's the MBA students at all of them. So anyway, I went this last, when was it? It was probably February or something. I went and spoke to the MBA students at the U, and I had all this stuff, more like what we'll talk about in a few weeks, written. And it was kind of like, I don't even remember the topic. It was sort of like life lessons, or I don't know. And right before I went to speak, I realized, all that's great, but that doesn't matter as much as like this simple stuff of, and I jotted down this list. I probably have it written. I probably have it right here. I'll look to it while I keep talking for a second. But it was like, what I would really, if I could really give you advice, it would be just to do things like breathe and stretch and stand up and move your body around. And I kind of felt like those were even greater advice. So I just sort of integrated into that here. I didn't find it on the fly, but so we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. I think I already mentioned the book by James Nestor called Breathe. That there's literally a whole book on breathing, and it's fascinating. And I talked about, I think last week, the Tony Robbins thing, where it taught me that that literally has been like the best managing your state thing I've ever gotten. And just to breathe, and I can really breathe myself through anything, and just through really stressful stuff. And I just keep breathing, just massive big breaths, and you just keep doing it till you feel better. I can feel the tension in my chest releasing, and lots of other things. But just breath work is a really powerful thing. You can look up all kinds of breath techniques on the internet. Wim Hof, the Iceman, was famous for that. But there'll be Tibetan monks that can go up into the snow in a loincloth and put themselves in a meditative state, and just through their breathing, they'll do fire breath, and they can, stay out in 0-degree temperature and be fine and melt all the snow around them. And breathing's pretty interesting. And literally in the breath book, he talks about that what's in the air is full of all the stuff of creation, all the minerals and subatomic stuff. It isn't just this empty thing that we think it is. It's full of stuff, which is why, like when you microwave plastic or something, or you have stuff, there's plastic particles in the air. That's bad. Aerosols. A lot of people are really panicked with because there is a lot of bad stuff, hairspray and all the things that are floating around. We breathe that in, it becomes part of us, but also so does all the stuff of creation. And so you're breathing in the universe and you're breathing in creation every time you breathe. Anyway, he gets into that in the book. So breathing's a big deal, and I think it's great. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there for you to improve by breathing. Standing, just to move your body, and I think that's something we take for granted. I love how the Apple Watch pings us to say stand up, and just especially when you're at a desk job and you're cranking away trying to recruit or doing whatever you do, get up out of your desk, walk around the block, but get up and move your body. And our bodies are meant to move, and it's so helpful for us. Meditate, mindfulness, a lot of this stuff, especially like in a lot of it, all the things on the list ahead above us that we've already talked about, a great way to integrate those and to implement them, and to also pierce that time veil so that we could say, I can bring the future to me, is to meditate. And if you're curious about that, Joe Dispenza is a great resource. A lot of his book, pretty much all his books will hit at some point on meditation, or the app. I also think it really calms and quiets the mind, even if you don't use it to implant and bring the future to today, which would be Joe Dispenza's thing. And again, he even talks about people healing themselves, and I believe in that too, but I wouldn't let that dissuade you to say, oh, that's too weird for me. I would just focus on what you could do. There's a study they did where they had these people pray for people in the hospital with this really bad disease, and they did a study, and half the people in there got prayed for and half didn't. And it was like, I can't remember the statistics, but it was huge difference in what the people that got better were the ones, and they didn't know they were being prayed for. They just were prayed for, and it was a total blind study that people didn't know. Even they didn't even. It was just a stranger. I'm praying for a stranger. Well, what's fascinating about it is they did it in the future, so that when they did the experiment, they were giving people names for people that were in the hospital like 20 years before, and they randomly divided them. They said, "You pray, you not." And nobody. It was all like a triple blind study. Nobody knew anything. And then when it was all done, the people that got better 20 years ago were the ones that got prayed for today. So it's back to that time thing. So there's just a lot of power. And so you think of the methodology in that was, you can perform well if you're in a grateful state and an abundant state. But you combine that, and you can also perform well. This is another study they did. If you have intention, you're very clear about what you want, like Kyle with the guitars and the amps, and you drive that energy towards what you want. But when you combine those two and you do it in the form of a space of a clear mind, it is like nuclear fusion. And I think that's what prayer is, right? Hey, I'm grateful for this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then this is what I want. Please give me this. Can I have this? Can I do that? And so get yourself in an abundant state, and then be very clear on what you want. I think you can also pierce the veil of time and say, I'm in the present tense. I am this. I am abundant. I am healthy. I am good. I'm whatever. And do all that together is like a superpower. So, and that is mindfulness and meditation is a great place to do that. I love the guy in Headspace app, Andy. There's a great Netflix done by Headspace on meditation. If you're at all curious about it, I think it's great. There's also what's it called? Like, how do you do? There's a series Netflix has, like, anyway, I think probably if you search meditation, they have some really good resources there. And I'm not trying to push anybody to meditate, just to try to find a time to quiet your mind. And mindfulness is kind of being aware and being the observer to say, I am not the noise. That's a Michael Singer thing. Shantae talked about that, the untethered soul. It's like, who you get into he digs down where he's like, who are you? And it's like, well, I'm Ted. Yeah, but what if you were, I'm a 54-year-old man. Well, what about when you were 7 years old? Were you not you? No, I was still me. So you're not, your age isn't define you, your gender doesn't define you, your name doesn't define you. Well, I'm married to my wife and I have these kids. He goes through and he breaks down all these things and realize there is a piece of you that's the I am, that there's this, like, I am aware, I am something that's besides all my circumstances. And you can tie into that and so mindfulness is to be aware and the observer of your life and not, and you can notice the difference between your mind and who you are, and the noise. You can see the amount of noise in your mind that has, and the self-talk that happens all day long, whether it's good or bad. And then the meditation, I think, is a way to just quiet that even more and to potentially combine gratitude and intention and to say, this is what I want, and to pull it to today. So that's what those are. So we are over time. I guess we'll pick this up. Carrie, would you rather, let me stop. Would you rather carry on? I think you can do the things that are left as well as I can, or would you want to just skip to transformational leadership and circle back to this with me being gone next week?
Why don't I go into transformational, and then you can finish up the rest of it when you come back.
Okay. Let me ask another question. Would you guys, and maybe it's not a safe question, but you can give it indirectly if it isn't filled, but should we speed up the pace and kind of move through stuff faster? We going too fast? Are we just about right? Any feedback anybody has or willing to give? And
I feel like we're going at a good pace personally. I don't feel like I need to slow down or speed up. I feel like we're at a good pace personally, but if anyone feels differently, I want to make sure everyone's okay to answer that too.
Well, yeah, you can only answer it for yourself. So Ashley and Shantae like the pace, Joe likes the pace, Kyle gave a thumbs up. So if you have feedback, I am really open to it. I'm not going to hold it against you or be all sad or hurt. If people we'll just get better, to use it as feedback to get better. And this is for you guys, not for me. So if it's not meeting your needs, let's address that and try to fix it. Because again, this is not for Carrie and I, this is for you guys. So let's make sure we're doing it. So be our customers and give us please give us the feedback and we'll do a job to petition it. Okay. All right. Well, we will move on next week to, I'm having a hard time having you do the Tony Robbins thing without me. But
do you want me to, should we just wait until you come back?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be just too FOMO without that. So let's,
we'll wait for you.
You can be willing to watch it. It's if you want to break it up, because it is 40 minutes, but we'll probably, and I think that way we can maybe get through the whole transformational leadership next week. And then we will come back and discuss. So we will discuss Tony Robbins in 2 Fridays. But go ahead and Carrie will still send the link out. Go ahead and watch it. I would consider taking those. I've made this bigger. You're going to watch it and be like, well, it wasn't that good. I've made it too big, but I still thought it was great. And then we will finish up this stuff quickly. We'll talk a little bit more about what's on page 3 or 4 of that thing I sent out. I guess it's page 4. And then we will move into management versus leadership. And then after that, we will do leadership development. and then 5 attributes of a leader, and then this curriculum of life. This is something I wrote when I was thinking, oh, what if I died? What would I want my kids to know? You know, without, like, what could I teach them in my absence? And so kind of more of this stuff, but just, so anyway, that's kind of our roadmap forward. Thank you, everybody, for all your comments. And please give us any feedback, or give me any feedback if you have it, and so we can make it better. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and go Utes. Hopefully they can win this time.
It
for Willie-
depends if we have offense. It all depends
Yeah.
if we have offense.
And if we have a quarterback. And for Willie's sake, we'll say go Tigers, huh? You didn't know Willie's a massive LSU fan, like bigger than all the